The only reason that I'm making this response is because one of these creators, Brittany Venti, has decided in her infinite wisdom that she wanted to go after my children and went after them in about the most horrible ways possible, making absolutely insane allegations. I don't care about the rest of the controversy. It doesn't matter to me. I don't give a shit what people say about me on the internet or whatever insane timelines they come up with or insane allegations or whatever. I don't fucking care about any of that. It doesn't mean anything to me. But I do care when insane people target my children. My kids have never been on my stream. I've never shown them to the public. I don't show any pictures of them. I don't involve them in any way, shape, or form in anything that I do. The type of lunatic who would try to come after me by going after my children, that's a super dangerous person and a lunatic, literally a lunatic. So I'm just going to quickly address a couple of things just in regards to them. Again, I don't care if these people go ham about me and Rachel all day. It doesn't mean anything to me. But let's start with my wife not only attempted to sell my daughter's virginity to groypers, that she succeeded, and my daughter was deflowered by a groyper or some shit. Okay? And further, that there's blackmail on yours truly, your very fine host, and that this blackmail is revenge pornography, which one of them has and is waiting to drop at any time.
The daughter's ex-fiance is part of this group that Nick Fuentes runs, and after assumingly taking her virginity, which Sloppy loved to brag about before, he proceeded to blackmail her and her family with what is implied to be her nudes and sex life.
Let's go over what their evidence is. Their evidence is that Rachel made a bunch of tweets joking around with some guys from the AF community on Twitter publicly.
She pimped out her virginal daughter, that she bragged about having a 0 body count, to a bunch of creepy men on the internet, on Twitter of all places.
Now, my daughter did date a man who she was interested in, and she was introduced via my wife. I see absolutely no problem with that at all. I don't see how anybody else could. That's completely up to my daughter who she wants to date or not date. They saw each other for a time socially. They had contact with each other socially. And the relationship ended up ending. My daughter ended it. They have not shown a single shred of proof, Brittany Venti or Tree of Logic or any of these lunatics, that there was any kind of physical relationship between these two individuals at all. None. And yet they string together this insane allegation, right, which led to people harassing my daughter on her Instagram page. What's interesting about this is that I think the reason that they went with this particular narrative is because neither of these women could ever in a million years envision dating a guy without sleeping with him. I just think that they couldn't envision doing that. She can date whoever she wants. Nobody forced her to date anybody. That's ridiculous. And it's okay for people to meet each other online. That's how most people meet who date in a social setting. But they've shown no proof at all to this allegation that her virginity was offered up online and then she was deflowered by somebody. Prove it, motherfucker. Prove it.
So Sloppy pimped out her virginal daughter to a bunch of creepy men on Twitter. And it resulted in her getting engaged to a Nick Fuentes fan that later on blackmailed her and her family with what is implied to be her nudes and sex life, considering that she was a virgin.
He didn't say anything about porn. They just assumed it. They literally just assumed that for no reason at all. And by the way, what a horrible and sick thing to assume. They just instantly assume she must have slept with him and he must have revenge porn. No proof at all. I never said anything of the sort. They just made the whole fucking thing up off the top of their head. No evidence whatsoever. Again, none. Haven't shown a single shred because there isn't any. It's all bullshit. What happened when he called me, right, and he was threatening me is that I could tell that he was, because they had been in this relationship, that his heart was hurt because she broke it off with him. I get it. I understand. I wasn't even angry with him. Okay? I didn't neglect the debate. I didn't do the debate because I don't know what people like this are going to do. I don't know. Next day I was able to talk with him and we were able to kind of work through it. And I felt bad for the guy. I understood he was heartsick. The Wilson girls, the daughters, they're heartbreakers. What can I say? What can I say? They break hearts. But anyway, like all joking aside, he didn't ever call me and say that he had revenge pornography. And I never said he did. Show a single clip of me ever saying that there was revenge porn. Or that he threatened me with revenge porn. I never said anything like that. He never called me with threats of revenge pornography. Ever. They just assumed it.
Blackmailed her and her family with what is implied to be her nudes and sex life.
That's ridiculous. But when you are making a narrative up, you definitely need it to sound like it's plausible and good. So what they did was when they have gaps in whatever it is, the story they're trying to tell, it doesn't sound nearly as interesting to say that one of my daughters dated a guy that she met on the internet and it didn't work out and they broke up. It's not a very interesting story.
This is so messy. I don't even think Maury could follow it.
And that's fucking sick to do to a person who didn't do anything to you just because they happen to be related to me. That's it. Just because my daughter's related to me and whatever it is that I did apparently caused such an affront that they're going to go through and dig up everything about my family, anything they can find to try to hurt them in order to hurt me. Which, by the way, I would never do in a million years back the other direction. I've never gone after people's families. And I've never dug into their past to try to figure out who their family members were so that I could harass them or send my community to harass them. That shit's always been off the table. Well, there's rules, right? Anyway, the last thing I'll say on my daughter is Brittany Venti showed on her stream when you're 21 or sorry, when you're you date a guy from New York and you almost marry him, blah 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 blah. Just so that everybody understands, the troll fell for the troll. What a fucking idiot.
This is from Rachel's daughter's TikTok, and it says, "Me, when I remember, I really almost married a 27-year-old man from New York that I only met 3 times because my parents wanted me to."
My daughter has a channel on Instagram, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. I have no interest in doing that. But she does mostly satire, okay? And when she saw that this was going on, she put this out, I don't know, 2023 or something like that, when they were trying to come after me with these things at the first of the year, or around that time, you know what I mean? Got to be really careful, because if you don't nail the time down exactly, fucking people go fucking ape shit, right? But anyway, she put that out to make fun of them. That's it. Just put that shit out, and she was making fun of them. Now, the interesting thing here is, if that's not true, and I'm telling you a story, or I'm giving you some kind of aggrandized lie, as these people would claim, then A, show proof that she had a physical relationship of any kind with this gentleman that was in any way sexual at all. They can't. They made it up. Show that there was any sort of revenge pornography which is held over her head by anybody. You can't, because you made it the fuck up. They made all of that up. Now, if I'm not telling the truth, my daughter, who does not live with me, lives hundreds of miles away, can just simply make an Instagram saying, no, it's true. He's an abusive, evil fucking guy or whatever, right? But unfortunately, my daughters kind of adore me, all of them. I know that's hard to believe because I'm cuddly like a cactus, but they fucking adore me. They think I'm great. They've always thought I was great. I can't really blame them, but they do. So the thing is like, where's my accusers? They say that my daughter was neglected. Venti claims that she was neglected. Show me the proof of the neglect. Any. Show a police report. You don't have one? Show anything, any proof at all, other than just your speculative gossip. She can't because there isn't any.
When I went on her daughter's TikTok and I saw that she had posted about having an eating disorder. It's sad that she had to go through that in such a hard time in her life. And it's a really serious issue because it implies that there's probably something going on in the household. You don't just randomly develop an ED. It's really unfortunate that her daughter is a victim of her mother's own lack of maternal instinct.
The reason that she had an eating disorder is because she went for years with an undiagnosed condition called POTS. And if these people had done any of their due diligence, the same thing they accused Rollo Tomasi of not doing, and had gone through her Instagram like they claim they did, if they weren't just looking for dirt, but they were actually looking at what she had to say with her satirical videos, you would know that she often makes videos referencing the fact that she had POTS. And then it went undiagnosed for years because every time we would take her to the doctor, and we went often, all the time, to try to get this figured out. Her mom would stay up with her, just night after night after night in ER after ER after ER when she'd have these attacks, and they couldn't figure it out. They finally figured it out after they got a neurospecialist in after a couple of years. It took years of references to even get this figured out. And anyway, she had POTS. And it was pretty awful for her. It was pretty awful. But anyway, that was all diagnosed, and luckily she was able to live a normal life after that. Eating disorder gone, all that stuff gone. Eating disorder wasn't because of some kind of mental illness, but because she was suffering from a physical illness. Now, I've never brought any of this up because it's not anybody's business. What would my daughter's medical conditions have to do with anything? They don't have anything to do with anything. They're just brought up as an attack to try to spin this kind of narrative, to try to defame her and hurt her in order to hurt me and my wife. That's it. And that's fucking sick. Now, did Venti tell you any of this? No. Well, how would she know? Well, she would have to do her due diligence, wouldn't she? She would have had to, actually watched some of those videos, actually taken a look, but she didn't do any of that.
How I even found out this information was because of a Twitter user named Froggy.
People DM me, Andrew, look at what she's saying. I'm like, yeah, so what? It's all lies. Who gives a shit? That's why I don't care. Never cared. It's all bullshit. If what I'm saying isn't true, daughter can come out and say whatever she wants. She's not under my yoke. She doesn't live here in my house. She's been a self-sufficient adult for a couple of years. Does her own thing. Has nothing, you know what I mean? Talk to her every day because I love her. We have a great relationship. My wife has a great relationship with her. She could say whatever the hell she wanted. The reason she doesn't is because there's nothing to say. She dated a guy for a little while. It didn't work out. No revenge pornography of any kind. It's made up. I don't even think there was a physical relationship of any kind. But if there was, the burden's on you to show the proof of that, not on me. You show the evidence. You show the proof. I don't have to show shit. I don't have to justify any of this to you fucking people. And the only reason that I'm even making this is because you went after kids. My kids, specifically. So anyway, Yeah, show the proof. Show that there's revenge porn. Show it. There isn't any. Show a single shred of evidence there is any. So show a single shred of evidence there was even a physical relationship. You can't show any of that. The whole narrative of selling her virginity on it's all bullshit. And you people, some of you, not all of you, but, well, in fact, almost none of you, just the trolls, you think that shit's real because you want to believe it's real. And there's nothing I can do about that. I can't do anything about you wanting to believe it's real. Now, moving over to my son, right? This is not the first time that people have used the death of my son to go after me with it in order to hurt me, right? Say horrible things like this. I have a thick skin. But in this case, Venti brought him up to show that Rachel was somehow negligent.
The story gets more interesting when she marries her first husband, baby daddy number 2, who she has a child with that ends up passing away in a very tragic accident that in turn makes Sloppy look like an extremely irresponsible parent.
Here's what actually happened. And because this case was so fully public, you can look into all of these details yourself. What actually happened was as follows. My son went over to a neighbor's house. We lived out in the countryside. He lived down a dirt road. My son went over there to watch a movie. While they were there, one of the boys he was watching the movie with, who was a few years older than him, I think he was 13 or 14 at the time, okay, stole his parents' keys to a Bronco, put my son in the Bronco with him, okay, drove down the street, wrapped the Bronco up against a tree, and crushed my son to death. He was 10. The police showed up that night after we had called them because we could not find him. He did not come home, and nobody at the house knew where he was at. So we called the police. The police found the wreck, and they came, and they let us know that he had died on the scene. I will never forget, ever, the horrific shriek that my wife let out. I've never heard anything like it before that, and I hope I never hear anything like it again as long as I live. Anyway, from there, what happened was, this kid had gone through the windshield and broken his leg. And they treated him medically. And then they arrested him. They arrested him, obviously. And they were going to throw the book at him. And his parents were set up on civil charges. They were going to throw the book at them, too. During his sentencing, this other boy's sentencing, we were inside the courtroom. And everybody came up and made statements, including his grandfather, my son's grandfather, and this my wife's father and grandmother and several other people. And all of them kind of got a piece of this kid. And everybody in that room was fucking enraged. Until my wife spoke. And what she did was she went and spoke to the judge and spoke to the prosecutor. There was no jury there. He was guilty. Right? And she made a plea for mercy. What she said was, please, don't turn one tragedy into two. Please don't destroy this kid's life as well. He made a horrible mistake, and we can all acknowledge he made a horrible mistake. But please don't destroy his life too. And she went on from there. And that whole room, the whole room was in tears, including the prosecutor and the judge. They were all crying. Because it was just a god-awful situation. And the judge showed him leniency. And the judge said he showed him leniency because of the things my wife had said. When it came time for mercy, what Brittany Venti considers to be the fakest Christian on the internet, when she had the power to hold a person's life in her hand that had done an unimaginable wrong to her, whether he meant to or not, she chose mercy. This is exactly in the character that I'm used to from my wife, who I love and adore. And I'll never say anything other than that because it's true. I love her and I adore her to pieces, and I always will, because that's the way that she is. Her convictions mean something to her. After this happens, the civil case comes up, and the day of the civil trial, the other family declared bankruptcy so that they didn't have to go to civil court. So we withdrew the civil suit to bring it up again after the bankruptcy was settled. And after the bankruptcy was finally settled, and it was time for me to bring the civil case back, I told my lawyer not to. And my wife told my lawyer not to as well. Because what would have been the point? At that point, there was nothing just about the situation. There was no justice in the situation. If I had taken everything these people had in restitution, it wouldn't have meant anything. It would have just been petty revenge. And so I didn't do it. Again, when the time comes to show mercy, I showed it. I didn't have to, but I did anyway. And she did anyway. This is all, the entire case, is public knowledge. It was a very public case because it happened in such a small town. Very public. You can find all the information you want about it, including the court case number, to confirm that everything that I'm saying is true. I don't know how you would do it, but you could talk to the players of the case even now. So the last time this kid ever contacted us with a letter saying thank you for having mercy when he didn't have to have mercy. That's what he said. Where's my accusers? Nowhere. Just some fucking idiot on the internet who wants to hurt parents through horrific means of attacking their children.